you also need to see what the possibilities are of your film that you actually don't even see. And I've every single time, literally, I've spoken to somebody and I'm like, so do you have access to this? And they're like, yeah. I said, well, there's a huge database of people right there. And they're like, oh my God, I never realized that.
One of the things with the M2M project that I'm kind of trying to highlight is, and actually you're part of this journey too, because we've had many conversations about budget levels for different scripts and how you kind of create leverage and things like that in order to get through these stages and these layers that you've just sort of shared. What are some of the things that a writer or even a producer who's optioned a script can do to raise the value of what it is they're presenting to, say, someone like you, so that when you, so that they can bring that budget up from 10 to maybe 100,000 or even 1 million? But what are the deciding factors that kind of create more value in a project so that people are even willing to talk to them about doing more than pocket change?
Right. Well, first of all, you have to build more revenue streams. So how do you do that? I mean, I have very good connections with one of our branding and narrative people. They worked with Hasbro, worked with the Transformers Monopoly game. So, they have great intel on great action figures and plush toys and things like that, because that was what they worked with for 12 years. So we bring that on board, and it's not for every film. Obviously you have to look at the film, you have to understand the film, you have to say, okay, what would the audience want, right? So if it is kind of a cutesy film, like I'm working on a dog film right now, which of course we're going to have plush toys because kids love dogs, and everybody loves dogs. Well, almost everybody, I hope, but yeah, we love dogs. But I also do merchandise. I was in the fashion industry starting up at a young age with my family business. So fashion to me is really important. So, I looked at that and I went, well, why can't we have some really cool fashion pieces from the film? So we can create clothing, which obviously is super important, for your brand, not only your brand, but it also brings in a lot of revenue because we can do an online. Yeah, you can bring an online site, an e-commerce site on top of your film, right? I have guys doing comic strips. They're minting comic strips, NFTs, which are phenomenal, and so they're doing the reverse. They're actually created the comic, they're minting it. They're making money off it already. And then we're going to layer it. Then, he's going to create a video game, and then he's going to create, the movie period, the animation. And then we're going to have merchandise, so there's all those layers that you can bring onto the project, right? There's metaverse. We can create some cool games and loyalty points and really cool things in the metaverse. There's all kinds of opportunities to do things, pop-ups, really, really neat things that I come up with, sort of one of a kind experiences that people don't forget, and then it can go viral, right?
And I guess a part of that marketing package then, would you say there's a particular structure for how you would add value in terms of the leverage from the people you have on your team, whether it's cast, crew? I would think those things probably affect even your interest in taking on the project, I guess, to some extent.
Well, yeah, but I'm one of those big advocates, as you know, Sebastian. We've talked about it over and over again throughout the years that you don't have to be an A-lister to be an amazing actor. And I've always been an advocate for supporting, local musicians or actors that are super intelligent, super creative, and just are really great at their craft. But unfortunately, we've come into this, I call it the black hole of film, where, you've got, it's like you have to have an A-lister and they're going to equal a certain amount of money. And I know the investors looking at them as a commodity almost, right? Yeah. But really what they don't realize is, number one, since COVID has created the film industry as a commodity, because we're so low in films and productions and TV series and things like that, that really I mean, we need more films. We need more productions funded. So investors really looking at it, I share with them that, you know, it's actually a commodity at this point. So getting in, you're going to make your money because people need to see new films, new TV series, you know. So looking at it in the budgets and looking at the breakdowns of what the revenue streams are going to be, you know, investors automatically are going to look at it and go, oh, wow, that could make, you know, how many millions? Oh, that's going to make how many millions? Oh, well, that's going to cover in case it bombs in the theater, God forbid, you know, it bombs in the theater, but if it does, you know, you can make money up in your merchandise. You can make money up in this, in the film score. You know, I have musicians that I can bring on, you know, that are talented musicians that I know that are, you know, that are well known. You know, one of my films we're looking at maybe putting Snoop Dogg in, you know, so that alone is going to cover way beyond your own film.
Yeah.
Right. So if it bombs, you know, we've got plush toys in that movie. You know, we bring on somebody like that who can create a wonderful rap song for the film. Boom, you're good. You know, it's kind of like what they did with Bond, right? You know, with the Bond series, you know, they brought in some really talented musicians. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be an A-lister. It actually just needs to have revenue.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think people get caught in that old school trap. And I guess we've talked about this too before, where, you know, you can have a good actor who's not necessarily well known, but if they're surrounded by other commodities or talents that bring value, that can boost the value of what you're presenting to investors, or even just doing a good job at developing online campaigns, I guess, where you generate an audience. Because if you have 40,000 or 50,000 people following a particular person, maybe not because they're that well known, but they're just good at attracting attention to a particular market, that it brings value as well. So we kind of forget, and those people are often hungry to get involved at budget levels that maybe, you know, A or B listers wouldn't consider. And some of those B or C listers, I guess, who have, because of COVID and everything, a lot of people haven't been working in the same pockets for a while. They're open to new ideas as well. So you can, if you can just get one of those B or C people supporting something, that, I guess, those, sometimes you need to give, I need to give my head a shake and just remember that there are other ways to create that value.
Well, there is, for sure. And what people don't realize too is those A-listers were never A-listers originally. So,
right.
You know, like, come on, you know, there's so much talent. It's unbelievable. It's like, you know, when you watch The Voice or America's Got Talent, I was just speaking to a client the other day that's creating a technology piece for musicians and artists. And I said, you know, there's so much talent that aren't being utilized, that aren't getting their chance. And so this is kind of was one of my journey that, you know, you and I talked about, but I've talked to numerous people about it, that my journey is to sort of deprogram these people in the film industry and realize that, you know, there is so much better availability of great talent for a lesser amount. So your budget now is lower. You're not inflating your budget too much. You're bringing on amazing talent. You're creating opportunities for people that could be eventually A-listers, right? You know, and also you're bringing on other sources of revenue. So you're not always, you know, you're kind of like not targeted just for those A-listers. Oh, well, you know, this person's going to bring me 5 million. This person's going to bring me 10 million. Okay, well, that'll cover the budget. No. You know, because I hate to say it, some of the A-listers don't do a great job sometimes. And if that's the case, then the movie bombs and they're an A-lister. So what point is that?
Right.
At that point, it makes no sense at all, does it?
Yeah, no. And
nobody's perfect, you know?
The market's changed now, where the kind of giddy excitement that people used to get from the A-list celebrity back in, say, the 90s, with the amount of, you know, the commonality or how ubiquitous, I guess, celebrity is now on the internet for all kinds of people who generate followings. It can help, like you mentioned, in certain circumstances, but it's not the be all and end all that it used to be, because there's so much to distract people. If the story isn't quality, if it's not a unique idea, it's still going to get hammered on. And so there are so many other factors now because there's a lot competing for people's attention.
Well, it is. And what I just had this conversation just yesterday or the day before with one of my clients. And I said, look, I said, you know, he was talking about getting the 20% and doing the line of credit. He said, this really makes a lot of sense, Davina. And I said, yeah, because now you've funded all of your films. Now you have no investors. So you own 100% of your film. How amazing is that? Instead of giving away 50% of your back end points, right, because you had to have an investor come in and fund. And then you got the pressure. And then what if that investor wants his sister to be in the film and you really don't feel that's a good choice, you know, or his son or something, you know, they're wanting something that really kind of doesn't work well with the whole script or the film. And you're stuck doing it because you know, he's got it basically that kind of gun over your head because it's like, I'm your investor and you got to do what I say kind of thing. Right. Yeah. You know, so I've never been one of those people, and you know this, that, you know, I don't like having that gun into my head, you know, so I find ways and possibilities for people to make their creative, you know, endeavors and not have somebody, you know, telling them what to do and where to go. Because that's the whole point of the entertainment industry. Allow us the creativity, allow us to create, you know, and so we need that support. So in saying that, most people don't do any marketing prior to their film. And I had this conversation with this gentleman, you know, literally yesterday or the day before. And he said, well, what about what P&A is after? And I said, no. You should be yourself taking the responsibility as the owner to market your film, even if the studio's taking it on and they're saying we're going to market it. Because really, studios don't necessarily market that well unless it's, you know, a beautiful Marvel or DC or some type of great big film. They're going to market the hell out of it, right? But how many times do you see every film being marketed? No, I don't. I don't know about you. But, you know, the thing is you have to take that responsibility and make it a success. You can't just make a film. I'm going to make $2 million as a producer and hand it over to the studio and just wait and see. You know, you have to take the proactive endeavors to really get it happening. So that's where I come in and my team come in, you know, where we market that film before and we do these really cool sort of pop-up things and really cool things online and get people engaged, and you start to build your viral following, right? And you get them so excited, you know, that they all are going to, you know, be in butts and seats in the theater.
That's right. Yeah. And people, what you say, don't even realize sometimes that these campaigns, even with the studios, start long before the film is even in a stage of production. Like if the rumors begin, there's selective rumors. A lot of times they bleed out on the tabloids. And then there's the more structured stuff that goes out on social media, kind of teasing who might be in the picture and all. But, you know, there's a similar model or maybe, you know, it's different, but it's the same idea behind more independent material. That you're not planning your marketing in advance. You're going to have a hard time getting people in seats when the film comes out and you're scrambling to market. And so that takes a lot of ingenuity, and some people are really brilliant with that. I really need to find people like yourself and others with great ideas to work with, because sometimes, you know, my head's so immersed in the script, I'm not thinking outside the box about those marketing ideas, but they are invaluable to getting your film not just seen, getting people interested in you know, supporting it, backing it, I think.
Well, see, and you made a perfect point, Sebastian. You know, you're immersed in your bubble. And I share this with my clients, not only in the film industry, in every industry. So you've created this beautiful piece, which you do, and I love your work. And and the thing with that is you're immersed in it so much that you don't see what an outsider sees because you're in that bubble, right? So why people retain me is because I come in as an outsider and I actually see the whole picture as an outsider. And so now I can see, I call it the cracks in that puzzle piece, right? We have to put the puzzle pieces together. So I see those little cracks, those I call money leaks too. So there's money leaks there. There's things where you're leaking money or maybe you're hiring too many people or not enough, or you're burning out certain people, you know, in other industries, even the film industry, you can burn out people, you know, and you also need to see what the possibilities are of your film that you actually don't even see. And I've every single time, literally, I've spoken to somebody and I'm like, so do you have access to this? And they're like, yeah. I said, well, there's a huge database of people right there. And they're like, oh my God, I never realized that. I'm like, right. You know, so what I think what needs to happen is, number one, I think the film industry, we need to be a little more humble. Because people have gotten to, you know, and I meet 99% humble people. They're amazing, you know, but you've got those people that are kind of stuck in their ways. They've been doing it forever. They think it works. Well, you know, times have changed. So you kind of need to be, as they say, with the times. And sometimes it's good to be humble and bring on somebody who can actually really help you and that can see things differently than you maybe see them, right?